gamers, this is Liz Davidson from Beyond Solitaire, and today I'm going to be reviewing Cascadia, designed by Randy Flynn. Alright, so here's a setup of Cascadia. This is one of those games that's actually really simple to teach and learn, but I'm personally finding it hard to master. My brain is not wired to be amazing at this, but I am having a really good time with it. So basically what you're going to do is try to arrange tiles and animals on those tiles, because each tile represents a place where animals can live, in a way that's going to get you the highest score. And the way you score changes per game. So you're going to lay out 5 scoring cards, one for each of the types of animals in the game. So you've got salmon, hawk, fox, elk, and bear. And then there are actually multiple scoring cards for each type of animal. So every game can play a little bit differently. And at least for me, some of these scoring conditions are tougher than others. So every game is going to have a little bit of a different feel. Gameplay itself is very simple. The solo mode basically plays like a 2-player game, but with an automated way to shift through some of these tiles and animals on the market. So we're going to talk about that. But essentially, you have a number of tiles that are available to you depending on how many players there are in the game. So there are fewer tiles available in a solo or 2-player game than there are in a 4-player game, because it's going to work out so that everybody has exactly 20 turns. Even in a 4-player game, you do remove 2 tiles from the pool, so every game's going to play just a little bit differently no matter what, because there's going to be a slightly different tile selection. But basically, on your turn, what you want to do is you want to pick one pair from the market. So you're going to take a tile and an animal. So let's say that I want a bear, so I'm going to take this tile with a bear on it and this bear. And then I can place these in a manner of my choosing. So basically, a legal tile placement, you can place your tiles anywhere. You don't actually have to match up the land types, although we are going to talk about that in a moment. All that matters is that the tile has one face on it that's touching another face in your terrain. So I can't put something off over here and be like, oh, I'll get to it later. But I could put it here, I could put it here, I could rotate it any way I want, I can just have one face that's touching. All of those are perfectly legal placements. But let's say that I just want to put it here. Actually, let's say I want to put it like that. And then I'm going to put the bear on one of these spaces here that has a bear on it. So this tile has a bear, and this tile has a bear. So I'm able to place my bear on one of these tiles, and it's my choice. If for some reason you cannot place an animal, it goes back in the bag. So you don't want that to happen on your turn. So let's just say I want to put a bear right here, looking all cool and bear-like. So that was my turn. In a multiplayer game, I would just replace this missing tile and animal, and other people would then make their choice for their turn. But in a solo game, I have to automatically lose one tile-animal combination because it has to mimic somebody else drafting tiles and animals from me. So since this is my draw stack, what's going to happen is I'm going to discard the tile and animal furthest from the draw stack, so these will leave the game. Once you've done that, in order to reset the market, you slide these tiles down in order to keep things cycling the way they need to cycle. You get 2 new tiles, and you get 2 new animals. And then it just continues back to your turn, and the game flows really, really smoothly. Once there are no longer any tiles left, and you've taken exactly 20 turns, and the game is over, and you're going to calculate your score, which is going to be based on these scorecards and also on corridors of types of land, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. But a couple more notes about the market. One is that overpopulation can happen, and that can lead to a market wipe. So, for example, if there are 3 salmon here, the player whose turn it is has the option to wipe all 3 of these salmon and replace them with new animals from the bag, just to give a little bit more variety. If all 4 animals are the same type, then you must wipe them because they are super overpopulating your market, and even if you kind of wanted one, you're just going to have to hope to draw it. The other thing I want to talk about is that there is one way to manipulate this market, and that is by getting these pine cones. Every time you place an animal, so for example in this case an elk, on a space that has one of these white pine cone outlines, you're also going to take one of these pine cone tokens, and you just sort of keep it, and it's either worth a point at the end of the game, or you can choose to spend it to either get 2 mismatched tiles from the market. So normally you have to take the tile and animal that are together. But if I spend my pine cone, I could take this tile and that animal if it were something else. If I really wanted this tile and this bear, I could choose to do that with my pine cone. The other thing the pine cone can do for you is you can spend one to wipe the market no matter what's on it if you're looking for a new animal. The tiles stay, but you get another chance at a creature of your choice. Then when you come to the end of the game, you score off of the scoring cards, as mentioned, and you also get points for the largest corridors of different land types. So you'll notice that there are different land types on each of these tiles. And basically throughout the game, while you're trying to strategically place animals, you're also going to want to pay attention to building large groups of specific types of land, because you get points at the end for your largest corridor of each land type. So if you can get several of these touching, that's some points. And then you also get a bonus at the end if you have the largest corridor. So in a multiplayer game, that means that the person who has the most mountains that are touching will get some bonus points, and second place will too. In a solo game, you have to cross a certain threshold, but you can also get a bit of a bonus if you're building very large corridors. And that's all there is to Cascadia. It's one of those games that's easy to learn, but it's hard to master because there's a lot to pay attention to if you're trying to get the absolute highest score. All right, so now for some final thoughts. I'm not gonna beat around the bush here. I'm just gonna say this game absolutely deserved to win the Spiel des Jahres this year. And I think that because it is the perfect combination of thinky and very easy to learn and teach. And that's something that I really appreciate about games, even though I also like the really chunky ones. The thing that Cascadia does best is that it has a rule set that's so simple that you can be going with it in minutes, but there's a whole lot to do with the game because of the different scoring conditions and just the different challenges of trying to become better at the game, even though learning to play it only took a couple of minutes. This is a game that I am thinking about bringing to play with my parents on family vacation later this year. I have taught it to my boyfriend. I'm going to take it to school to play with my students. This is one of those games that I really feel has an audience with just about anyone. And I also think that because of the way that Cascadia has different scoring challenges, it'll still be a game that is enjoyable in coming years. So this is one that I expect to stay in my collection as one of my lighter games that I can try out anytime to satisfy anybody. It's a real crowd pleaser. I really think that it is good for experienced gamers. It's very good for inexperienced gamers. Basically, there's no one that Cascadia is totally not for. At least, I'm sure there's somebody out there. But really, this is a game that is as close to being good for everybody as I ever see. And I also did like solo. So this game is a beat your own score. I know that not all solo players like that. And it is true that in solo, you're not going to get the same kind of delicious hate drafting that you're going to get with more than one person. But this game is a satisfying, puzzly sort of game, and I actually think that that lends itself to solo play. So one thing I particularly like is that if you are just playing standard Cascadia and you feel like you're getting really good at it, at the back of the book there are some scenarios that can be played solo or multiplayer, and the idea is to test yourself against different combinations of scoring cards, trying to hit specific score thresholds or make certain things happen in the game. So there are ways to make this harder for yourself, even after you get pretty good at just the base version of the game. So Cascadia definitely has a good long life. I think that for a solo player, it's going to be entertaining for a good long while, and then maybe you'll want to pull it back out every so often and enjoy it that way. And I also think that in groups, it's going to be one that is an absolute keeper. So does Cascadia deserve the hype? I'm going to say absolutely yes. It's rare to find a game that is so easy to teach, so easy to learn, and then still interesting after multiple plays. And that is achievement. And that is an achievement that we should all be celebrating. So let me know your feelings about Cascadia. Please do, like and subscribe to my channel. And most of all, happy gaming.